case, I'm going to go ahead and put my phone on vibrate.
Yep.
I think we're close enough.
Ish.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
So will it go live then?
We're going to go live
Okay.
in 3, 2, 1. Hey everyone, welcome to a Friday edition of The Bullet. My name's Paul Lathrop. I'm the Deputy Director of New Media for the Second Amendment Foundation. Joining me on this side is Robyn Sandoval of A Girl and a Gun. On this side, you know her, Amanda Suffecool of Eye on the Target Radio. We are live from, north of Atlanta. We're in Jasper, Georgia. Everybody's gathered here for the Complete Combatants annual gathering they call the Mingo. It is a gathering of, I guess it's 60 women, I guess, this year in the firearms industry. And Susan's a part of it, and they asked me to come and be part of the media contingent this year. So the last several days I did one abbreviated bullet on Tuesday. The last couple days I've been trying to get here, and so I really haven't had a chance to get much of a bullet in. So I grabbed the ladies here and said, let's record one tonight. And they
Is this
said,
where we laugh? Sorry.
they you know, they said okay.
We
So
were not actually grabbed, for all full disclosure.
Full disclosure. His hands are
visible.
all right, so
Paul's gonna hate the fact that we're all together in real life.
In
We'll just
person,
say.
he can't mute us because we're not at our own computers.
yeah, I can't reach. There's no button I can push and quiet either, or I can't take the camera off of either. We got what we got. So
It's completely feral tonight.
Out of control.
we should. This is basically the first real broadcast of the week, so we should really cover Friday or the last weekend. There was this massive evilness that came out in New York State, up in Buffalo, and a race. I don't care that when the media first came out, it sounded like it was a Trump supporter, and somebody was a racist. Well, he was racist. He was no Trump supporter, but yeah, and what is up with this? That guy that wants to live stream mass murder? This absolutely turns my stomach. And I haven't been able to keep up. I've been traveling. And have either of you been able to?
I've seen pieces of it. Some of the interesting, not fabulous, but interesting pieces of it is that he live streamed it on a game playing platform,
Twitch, yeah.
and so now the legal authorities are looking to see. They know how many people saw the entire live stream, and so now they are going to see if they can identify who those were and why they didn't report anything. Accepting to see something, depending on what it was listed as, maybe one thing, but to watch it as if it were a movie and not to take any action at all.
But it would make you wonder if people really knew what was happening. You know,
If they thought it was real.
They would think it was played out, that it was a act or some kind of game or some kind of, a made-up situation. The sad thing is that I know that the people of Buffalo's hearts are broken, and they're trying to kind of come to terms with what happened, because this person was crazy. And not only was he crazy, but he had been planning this for a really long time. And that's what I find so disturbing, that no one identified that behavior ahead of time and was able to save and stop the situation.
Well, and there is some culpability, in, at least in my opinion, the fact that he had made a threat to a school shooting. And so they had pulled him out of school, they had looked at it, they had talked about it, and then they released him, and it was like, oh, never mind, it's not. So how, at what point do we, the responsible gun owners, insist that actions be taken on these heinous crimes when they identify them, because we're finding that a lot of the time there are all of these advanced signs, there are all of these warnings, and yet they're like,
I think the job is on law enforcement, and I think more law enforcement communities are doing more assessments and working with other partners in the community, because not everything starts with a crime. If someone does a crime, then it can be documented, and then you can start tracking that. But if someone is just odd or strange, looking back, we see all the signs, but there might not necessarily be a sign.
Every odd person does not become a mass murderer.
Exactly. So there needs to be more assessments in the community, more task force that work with businesses and families to identify that kind of weird behavior, because law enforcement can't act on something until a crime is committed. And there needs to be other stopgaps and other processes in place to allow them to gather that information, start tracking certain behaviors to, mitigate these situations.
Well, and New York has red flag laws. If red flag laws were going to work, they should have worked. In my opinion, this is evidence red flag laws are junk.
But there's the red flag laws issues, but there's also the gun that he used was illegal in the state.
Yep. Yes,
it would have been modified in a manner to make it illegal. And of course, we all know that murder is illegal. So laws stacked upon laws don't necessarily do anything, especially if when we get signs, we just refuse to see the signs, we refuse to take any kind of advance action on people who potentially need help.
And I still think, I haven't gotten all the details yet, but just the security guard who was a former police officer, now security guard, just maybe more training could have been available to him I know the guy was wearing armor, but maybe there could have been, if one target's not working, take advantage of another target. We have talked about maybe he didn't have time for that, but I think training does allow your brain to process that information faster, that center mass isn't working, maybe another part of the body could stop the threat better. So maybe that kind of training was not available to him, or he never took advantage of it. I don't know what kind of agency he was working for, employed by, but there's a lot of things there that maybe could have helped slow the guy down. He had already cased the place, he already knew what was going on. He had documented that security guard was there. So that's just a lesson for everyone who is a security guard and law enforcement open carrier. They know you're there, and you need to be prepared.
And you're going to be the first
line.
Yeah. Right. And so when they say you're the first line of defense, you were the first line of engagement and the threat. There was one other thing that it escaped me, of something else that was.
I want to bring this up, and I'm normally for our regular viewers, when I get comments, I usually like to put them up on screen and comment from there. I can't do that. Our internet connection in the hotel.
We have just enough internet to do this.
We're in Jasper, Georgia, y'all.
Barney Fife built the internet here, but at any rate. I've got a Charlie Cook writing. He was in a mental hospital for a day and a half before released. My video on AmLam News this weekend is about this.
Okay, so check in to AmLam, because there's more will come out, and that's one of the things about this and all cases like this. More and more will come out, and then we'll know. And so you end up, it's hard to say, the what and the why, and why would they do this, and things like that. Evil is evil. And so it really, the more we want to know why, because in our heads then we can say, well, how can we avoid it? What can we do? I don't know that you can avoid evil that picks your community, or picks your mother, or picks your grocery store, or picks your theater, and they pick it for some random reason because they like prunes. It doesn't matter, right? It could be that alfalfa was growing across the street. It's nothing that you can see and identify and avoid because, this is all the signs.
I think we would all feel more sorry for him if he just didn't like prunes. But the fact that he targeted this community is so heartbreaking, and it angers me and angers everyone who the fact that he would go through these links and then, but specifically target a community the way he did, and not just him. I mean, the same thing happened in California: racially motivated hatred and violence.
Yeah, that's unfortunately I've not been able to follow up on that story at all. I've been able to catch bits and pieces from, honestly, radio news from Fox News.
Well, that's because you've been driving across the country. We'll just say that there's been a lot of people converging upon Jasper, Georgia. Jasper, Georgia has no idea what's coming, right?
The hotel certainly didn't.
Right, but one comment that was just made, the gun foodie said, unfortunately, criminals want to be successful too, and a well thought out plan typically does not end well for anyone.
Yeah.
Right. It's very true.
One thing I know would improve things, and that's if New York actually allowed concealed carry. Mm-hmm. If New York allowed their citizenry to arm themselves, right now, theoretically, you can get a concealed carry permit in New York if you are famous, if you are fantastically rich and connected.
Right. Oh, I know what I was going to say. It was about the calls to 911. Multiple calls went into 911, and the store manager was called 911 and was whispering because she was concerned that she was going to be heard.
Terrified for her life.
And so she's calling, and the 911 operator couldn't hear her or wouldn't hear her or had difficulty hearing her, and culminated with hanging up.
Well, asked her, why are you whispering? You don't have to whisper. Right, like insulted her.
Yeah.
And then hung up. Right. So, and they're like, oh, well, they may fire her. My question for that is, may?
Yeah, that's terrible. I mean, all the dispatchers I know are the voice of reason, the voice of calm,
and they would take they will take such offense at this person being one of them.
And it was her day. It was her day on her shift when that situation happened, and she could have gotten help there faster.
Right.
All right. Let's see, where are we at here? We're at 11:43. There's one story, Robyn, you wanted to talk about. In Dallas, there was a basketball game, and apparently a 15-year-old girl went missing. I'm gonna let you run with it.
Yeah, this story has been on my heart and my mind lately. Maybe some of you have seen it, but there was a 15-year-old girl who went to a Dallas Mavericks game with her father. Just before halftime, she went to the bathroom and then never came back. Her father reported her missing. They looked for her. A exploited missing children service or organization in Houston actually found her listed on a website. She had been abducted and was being kept at a motel where she was being sold in Oklahoma City. So 9 adults, they arrested these 9 adults for endangerment, abduction and endangerment of a child. So many questions come out of that. I think the first thing is we looked at who was this individual, how did he get into the stadium. So the family of this girl have sued the Dallas Mavericks, the arena, and the hotel, citing that if you see a bunch of adults with children at a hotel, and people coming and going, there should be some parameters to get law enforcement involved in that. But the arena asked who was this man and how did he get access to the arena. Apparently he used a fake ticket. Another thing that's the question is, how did a man get a 15-year-old girl who's, a woman, out of the stadium without anyone seeing, without her calling attention? And so that's why I have questions about that, about how it can be prevented. Was she drugged? Was she scared? Was she threatened? Other people have surmised that it was probably someone she had met online and cultivated trust with, that she had been a predator, had found her online, developed a relationship with her, and then told her that he would meet her there, and that's what made her leave her father. So if that's the case, that's entirely sick also. So another
well, the other part is that as you read the articles, and more's coming out, because the first article, it was like there was just one article. When you told me about it, we looked and we found one article, and now the Blaze has it and a couple other places have it with more detail. But the father tried to file a missing persons report for her at the stadium or with that place, and they told him to go home and file it with his police. So they made him in fact, they made him leave and make it a problem of his police. He goes to their police and he's like, well, no, she was missing from the other city. You have to go to their police. So back and forth, no police asked him for a photo of her, none of this. They were jockeying back and forth as to whose
jurisdiction it was.
So that was an issue. She was missing for 11 days, and when she was being sold, it was by the hour, just to be
right.
Right. So, I mean, it's a horrific, life-changing event for her and her parents. And, I mean, and she's lucky to be alive. Absolutely
and
lucky to be
found, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, when you mentioned that the jockeying for jurisdiction, usually when you hear about it, when you in movies, my jurisdiction, that's my jurisdiction, is because the police all want to do something. The way you're describing it, I'm not getting involved with this. It's not my jurisdiction.
Hot potato.
Yeah, get it away from me.
The interesting thing was that the surveillance that came out from the stadium, they could see her leaving with him. And I think the best thing for all of us to do in our industry is to recognize what parameters can we put in place to recognize these predators, to recognize these crimes. Apparently, it was online and in certain networks they know, and that's how the Exploited Child Foundation was able to find her. So, but as parents, how can we educate our children to have a better social media presence, interaction, and to not leave a stadium with a stranger?
So have you? I mean, I'm from Akron, Ohio, or close to Akron, Ohio, and Akron, Ohio has a huge issue with trafficking, and who would think Akron, Ohio, right?
I think everyone is finding that
and
to be a
they're
problem.
finding it's to be, and so they're really doing a lot of education. So I'm going to say that if you've got a child that is a teenager or a tween or something, that do some homework, do some research, and educate them on this, because the stories of how, as you ask, how did this predator get this child, and those hows have to be told and have to be shared in such a manner to where our tweens get it. They understand that it looks like it was a friend, but it's not really your friend. It's your friend just long
when
enough.
When he shows up and he's 40, he's not your friend.
And
yes.
we teach them to don't take candy from strangers, but this becomes a friend of hers that's not really a friend.
Right, and being able to empower them to be their own first responders, to recognize, like we always talk about, the gift of fear, to recognize their internal dialogue that this is not okay. This is not okay that you don't look the way I wanted you, that I expected you as my online friend, and I'm certainly not leaving this stadium with you. I mean, I could see them talking to someone, but every bell and whistle in her being should have gone off when he tried to get her to leave that stadium. So I hope that we can all learn from this and educate our kids for it.
Yeah, I really do. I mean, I think that, one of the statements is, how does this relate to Second Amendment? It's the whole, your own first responder. It's whose job is it to protect you? Whose job is it to protect your family? And this ties to it. I mean,
not every problem is a gun problem. Most of the time we need to identify who's the bad guy, how to avoid them.
In advance of it becoming a gun problem.
Yes, absolutely. Because, if that was my child, it might be a gun problem.
Right, I agree with that. I mean, there is that, and these things all kind of mesh together. Mm-hmm. And understanding the whats and the whys of how freaks do things that impact our families,
and how the internet, live casting a crime, or this was on the internet also, how technology has enabled a lot of people to connect with each other in these communities, and we all have to be mindful of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Well, we're coming up to the point where what I would like to do is to pivot a little bit.
Okay.
And I want to talk about why we're all here. I want to talk a little bit about the mingle that's coming up starting
we're here to shoot
tomorrow.
Things. That's right.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to be pulling a trigger one time until maybe at least Monday, but everybody else here is. The mingle, actually, Shelley Hill, who is not anywhere close.
Yeah.
But she's in the building somewhere, I think.
Did you tell everybody that we're sitting in the lobby of the hotel? Did you share that part? Because they may see people walk by.
Yeah.
They probably figured it out by now.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And if we were to start this same broadcast at 7 in the morning, there'll be people eating behind us. But anyway, Shelley Hill started, my understanding is she started this just because she wanted women in the industry to be able to get to know each other. And, Susan, I'm not
she's chatting.
Susan was at the very first one. I've never. They asked me to come down and be part of the media contingent.
You're the token.
I'm going to be
token dude.
That's right.
I'm going to be down here doing some recording and putting together video for them. But I'm kind of Amanda. Have you been to this before?
I have been. This is my third. I think this is the 6th annual. This is my third. And so each time they've kind of held it at a slightly different place, but it's growing, it's grown, and it's really cool because, well, for me, every year Shelley and Brian Hill bring in additional trainers and name quality trainers, and so really it's the value of continuing education and continuing firearms training and what that is, and so they bring in world-class trainers. And the funny part is they bring in world-class trainers, but Brian Hill, in my opinion, is one of the top trainers around. So you get Brian in his natural habitat, and then you get others that come in too, and it's like it's great. It's absolutely great.
Yeah, this is my first time to come to the Mingle. I've always wanted to come. I've been invited for many years, but it's never fit into my schedule, so I'm really excited to be here with all the other women on the line. And the best part about it is that I'm not running anything. I have no responsibility here whatsoever. I just get to be a student on the line and learn from these incredible instructors, so I'm really grateful for that.
And all I'm going to be doing is going around and filming and interviewing around 60 fantastic ladies. That's my entire responsibility.
It's a tough job.
I'm telling you, man.
Tough job.
Somebody's got to do it, and I get paid to do this. I mean, how lucky am I? So, I think that's going to be about what we've got planned for today. There will be no live broadcast tomorrow. I will be doing some.
You'll be on the range.
Yeah, we'll be at the range. There will be an upload, but it won't be live at some point on Sunday. My plan is to interview as many of these ladies as I can, one right after another, on Sunday as the Mingle is wrapping up. Something like what I did in February of 2020 when the Florida Carry people had their speakers event. I went down to the campground and rapid fire, I sat down as many people as I could, one right after another, interviewed them. That's going to be kind of what I do with about 60 women who attend the Mingle on Sunday. It won't be live, but we will get it uploaded that night, I hope, Monday morning at the latest. And that'll be right here, so stay tuned for that, coming up Sunday night, Monday morning, and I hope to be back to more regular bullets next week. Again, next weekend is the NRA show, and Saturday night we've got something coming up.
Right.
Are we going to be putting that on Just Ops Lens, or are we going to be doing it?
We'll find out what we have internet to do. But we're doing a concealed carry fashion show. And so our hope is to get it up and out there. So Robyn is modeling. We've got a bunch of names of people
non-model models.
Non-model
you guys
fun
be
models.
Be
so
supportive.
Your wife Susan is modeling. There's a ton of names of people that you know. So Charlie Cook, our Charlie Cook, that is part of the Play Society podcast. He is going to co-MC it with me, and so it'll
be lots of fun.
It's going to be fun. Should I mention that Ryan Muller's going